Welcome everyone back to another episode of the Better Bid Calling Podcast. As you know, my name is Joshua Houston, and I am joined today with two very special individuals that I got to know a little bit over the past couple of years. Would love to get to know them more and look forward to doing that today. Lance and Terri Walker. Lance has served the NAA in multiple capacities. Terri has too. Terri is a former IAC champion. We'll get them to tell their stories here in just a moment. But Lance, Terri, welcome. Good to have you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good to be here, Josh.
Lance, I want to start with you and just tell us about where you are, what you do, the average day in the life of Lance Walker and your company that you're over.
Well, Terri and I have an auction business in Memphis, Tennessee, and we have a facility here, office with a small yard and warehouse. We have been in the auction business for 44 years, quite a while. We started out in Missouri, working under Terri's father. That's how we got in the business. And after several years, we decided to move to Memphis. And I think we've been here 30 years. I can't remember, maybe more than that. It's been a while, but it's been good. We do, we specialize in benefit auctions for many years. And then we went off into commercial part, estates, commercial property, business liquidations, the whole gamut. We're a general auction company. We're a family business. Our son Eric works with us, and that's what we do.
Very good. Very good. I'll pass the question on to Terri. Anything you want to add there or say a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, one of the things, whenever you look at our company, there are three of us that are kind of head of the company, and that's our with our son Eric as being really coming up into it and working more. I'm dealing with the personal property and that's online. So with the personal property, part of the auction is we have employees that will list and put everything online for us, and then basically what I do is deal with the client. So I'm the face that the client sees, and then our people who work, our employees who are our auction managers, they handle the next part. If any of us get a piece of real estate, then we just hand that over to Lance, and he then goes with that. Eric does a lot with our equipment and that type of auction, so he's kind of in charge of that area. However, let's face facts here. Eric is young and vivacious, and so he knows the technology a whole lot better than we do. Sure. So we give him that opportunity to work in the technology part as well.
Right. Now, Eric is a fiddle player. Is that right?
He is.
Yes. Yes. Excellent. And he plays the fiddle on all of your commercials. Is that right too?
That's been the best gimmick we've had. Actually, I give a seminar on using television and radio, and I think you've heard it, Josh, maybe more than once. Yeah. And that little gimmick of when it's time to sell, Walker Auctions doesn't fiddle around, has paid off.
Good, good.
So that $18,554 I spent on violin lessons and violins paid off, Josh.
Good deal. Good deal.
It's amazing. I can go to the grocery store and someone will go, hey, I just want you to know that I don't fiddle around.
I love it.
So it's working. It's working.
Well, that's something that I don't see a lot of new auctioneers. Well, let me not say new. Millennial auctioneers around my age, maybe a little older, maybe a little younger, they seem to be putting their efforts in advertising more in social media rather than TV, radio, things like that. But I tell you, Lance, when I listened to that presentation that you gave, I heard it in Arkansas. It was very persuasive on how TV can really help.
Josh, of course, we use, Facebook and all that too, but several years ago, I've always been a radio person. I like radio, and I listen and I watch ads on TV and radio. And I know that may sound silly, but I watch an ad to see, well, why are they doing that and who's doing it? And I looked on there and there was these wealthy attorneys and car salesmen were spending thousands and thousands of dollars a month. And I got to thinking, there must be something to that or they wouldn't do it, right? And so I checked into it, and I thought, well, I'm going to give it a try. Started with radio, and then TV. And Josh, it's the best investment I've made as far as promoting our business and increasing our business.
Mm-hmm.
Our ads are we try to appeal to the seller. If you got something to sell, give us a call, and it's just worked. It's several $1,000s a month, but it's paid off.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so for me in Memphis, Tennessee, radio and TV works as well as the social media.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think too, one of the things whenever you look at who's watching TV, and we try to do it during a news time, when the news is on, and a lot of that is individuals who are, I guess, seniors.
Mm-hmm.
They're
Yeah.
watching that, and so when we come on, that think, oh, whenever I'm downsizing, when I'm moving into a senior living facility, that's who I need to call.
Yeah.
And so that's where we get that.
Josh, I've learned that follow up with what Terri said, who is your market, who you're trying to appeal to. And that's, that's who you want to go after. And I learned that the nice little lady in my church listened to, the news, and still watch the news and listen to certain radio stations. And so I just kind of did some research and among my peers and my friends and thought, well, I'm going to try this station or these stations, and you reach them. And so I'm after the age group of 45 and up who's got an estate to sell, a business to liquidate, equipment to sell. Your younger people aren't sellers. They're mainly buyers.
Right.
And so I go after the seller.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's a different perspective than what a lot of auctioneers take. It seems to me, and this is just from the outside looking in, that a lot go after the buyers. Like, this is, I have a commodity, this is who needs it, rather than, well, I've got to get the commodity to facilitate first. Well, I'm like both of you. I started out in college as a freshman as a double major. I was majoring in Bible and communications. I wanted to be on the radio. And I worked in the radio station at Freed Hardeman there in Henderson, Tennessee. And it taught me the value of being in front of people. It taught me the value of, you have a persona that you put forth. And what I've found is that a lot of people see you maybe online, on TV, or hear you on the radio, and they have a perception of you. Yep. And when they meet you for the first time, if that perception is off, it's going to cause problems. Mm-hmm. And so you two are obviously in sort of the media world with your commercials. You host a radio show still, I'm sure.
Yes.
Is that a daily thing or a weekly thing?
Weekly. Once a week.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I was on that a few years ago, and that was a lot of fun to call in and be on that. So
we got to do it again.
Let's do it. Okay. Well, let me ask you this. You've been in the business for 44 years, started in Missouri, brought it to Tennessee. Some people might look at that and say, good grief, that is a long time. So why still be in the business when you could, pack up your bags and move to the Caribbean and have your beach view the whole time, or move to the mountains and, enjoy that? What keeps you in the business?
Well, he told me we couldn't do that. Oh my goodness.
Terri's spending habits keep me in the business.
Okay? You bet. I know that feeling.
Josh, I love an auction, whether it's live, online, whatever. I love the auction method of selling. I truly believe in it. I think in most cases it's the best way to sell, not in all cases, but in most cases, competitive bidding among qualified buyers is your best way to sell. And that's what an auction is. We had an auction close last night. We had 13 cars. And Josh, at the beginning of the day yesterday, nothing would have sold. The bids were too low. And,
Hmm.
but lo and behold, what happens on an online auction? The last 2 hours, boom, 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 things start clicking.
Hmm.
So that we sold 11 out of 13. That's not bad. I'll take that batting average any day.
Hmm.
Uh, so, uh, and as far as a benefit auction, Josh, Terry and I both had them last weekend. When we come in, we brag about who had the best one, who sold the most, and all this. We compare notes on that. And of course, it's always Terry,
I'm
but
sure.
we both just love them, and I love the challenge of getting in front of a crowd, convincing them that I'm authentic, I'm real, I'm not here to hurt them, I'm here to help them, and then you have to have fun with them. I don't care if you're selling equipment. Put a smile on and have a good positive attitude and just win that crowd over. Help them spend more money than they plan to do. That's my goal. I just want you to bid one more time. That's my goal. One more
Yeah.
time.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if y'all know Jeff Stansberry. Jeff and I worked together with TriStar as bid callers.
Yeah.
Jeff with TriStar, I had Jeff and Tom Riles on the podcast. Tom is our auction host, and
Uh-huh.
um, I had them on. Jeff is a musician. Tom is a TV personality. He's worked with the Ellen DeGeneres show forever before it quit, and
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Jeff is the kind of person who, even though we're looking at three TV screens and everyone can see us, but we cannot see them, he makes you feel like you're sitting right there just with him. He's so
Yeah.
personable with that. So that's great. One thing that I love about you both that is a great encouragement, I think, to younger auctioneers, which this podcast is typically geared towards younger novice auctioneers who are getting their feet wet in the business, is if you love what you do, you never work a day in your life. And I'm not so sure that either one of y'all have ever worked a day in your life because you love what you do so much. And it's just obvious. I mean, you see it all over your face. When I saw you 2 years ago at the Tennessee Day on the Hill for the Tennessee Auctioneers Association, it's just obvious that everyone there love what they do and want to share it with everybody else. So that's wonderful. Okay, I want to kind of turn the tables here just a little bit because both of you have been so active in the national association. Obviously, you've been active in Tennessee as the state association. You've competed, you've judged, you've done the whole 9 yards, served on the board, and all that good stuff. Am I correct in saying that both of you have served as president of the NAA? Is that correct?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
And Lance
Yeah.
most recently, right? So
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah.
if you can, Terri, I'll get you to do this first. Explain to our listeners the benefit of the NAA and why it is something that is more than just an association that you can put on a business card or an advertising piece. Why it would be a good idea to be involved in that organization.
Sure. As auctioneers, our desire is to help people. That's one of the things that Lance and I like to do. And what happens in your community as an auctioneer, you stay within your community, helping your community. By joining the National Auction Association, you can work with auctioneers across the country, get to know them, learn how they help their community. You can then bring it back to your community and be a better auctioneer, a better helper in just the community that you're in. And selfishly, that's how you can. That's one of the ways that your business can be so much better and how you can be of help. But selfishly, it also provides other doors that will open up. And Lance, I may tell the story about how our benefit auctions business started because of the National Auctioneers Association. But also when you meet other auctioneers in different parts of the country and they have an auction that is similar to one that you may have had, they will contact you and even ask you to come and help them at their gala where they're selling farmland. We've had that opportunity, and I think that's another thing. But also, the National Auction Association is an association that stays on top of trends. And in order for our business to do well, we have to stay on top of things. We've got to know the laws, and how they changed. We've got to know how what is the best way to do something. Example, a live auction versus online auctions. That was all taught at the NAA. So those are some of the reasons that I think it's vitally important for someone to stay involved with the National Auction Association. Lance, what do you
Lance?
think?
You pretty much said it all. Uh, to me, to succeed in the auction business, it's a lot about networking, alliances, education. Networking, alliances, and education. And that's what the NAA provides, has always provided me. Uh, when I went to auction school in the Stone Age, the last thing Dick DeWeese said, who was owner of the Missouri Auction School, was if you're serious about being an auctioneer, join your state and national auction association. That's the last lecture. That's what he said. And I said, he hadn't led me wrong yet. I'm going to take him up on that. So I joined right then. Mm-hmm. And I haven't looked back. It's just been from my first convention in Nashville, Tennessee. I met auctioneers that for some reason took an interest in me. I tell a story about Hack Ayers, who was a former president of NAA and TAA. And for some reason, he took a liking to me and Terri and invited us out to his home. We helped him with auctions. I met his son-in-law and daughter-in-law, JJ and Tracy Dower. We became great friends. And from that alliance, it's been not only nice, but it's been profitable. We were friends, but we have made money off of sharing with each other. And from that, other alliances, other networking, and how can you get by without the education that the NAA provides? I don't know. To me, it's just it's the best that's out there, and it's something we really need, and it's something the NAA is really good at. We need to get better at some other things, but we are good at education, and we're constantly wanting to improve that. We don't ever just sit on our laws and say, well, isn't this great? We've redone all the designation programs. We're doing more. We're taking a look at what we're doing. We're taking a deep dive into conference and show, and what can we do to make that even better for auctioneers? So the NAA has been profitable to me in many ways. If you're serious in the auction business, I can't imagine surviving without that.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's true. The state associations, of course, you both are big in TAA, thankfully. I am as well. I'm a dues paying member and very proud of it. The only thing that breaks my heart is I'm not going to be at the convention this year because we are expecting a baby right around the time of convention. So
well, that's no excuse.
I told Callie, hey, that's what they told Jay Cash last year. Jay had a baby on the day of convention, and they were like, "Where's Jay?" Like, he's at the hospital.
Listen, I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll bid for you at the fun auction, Josh.
Good. I'll send you a check.
Josh, Lance was supposed to speak at the National Auction Association meeting, and I went into labor and had to call him home so he could be.
It was my first time to be an NAA speaker, and boy, I was up all pumped and excited. And I was on the program and all this.
Yeah.
And because of her, she delivered 2 weeks early. It's all her fault. I had to leave. Oh, it broke my heart.
I think you've more than paid for that in the course. Well, the state associations have made me more money and given me more opportunities than anything else in the auction industry. I mean, more than winning contests. Well, really more than winning contests, entering contests, first of all, but being there at the associations, learning the continuing ed, meeting people, as you all have said. So I want to ask you back to the NAA. I want to ask you 2 questions that are sort of double-sided coins. and I hope I'm not prying too much with these questions. Tell me if I am. That's okay. Um, I want to ask both of you, as former presidents, what the best part of being president of the NAA was. And then I'll flip that on its head in just a minute. But go ahead and Lance, we'll start with you. What was the best part of being president of the NAA?
The best for me was getting to go to all the different state associations I did. I thoroughly enjoyed uh, going from association to association, whether it was giving a presentation or judging their contest or just being there. There's a couple associations I just went, and I took back so much from that. Uh, I think I got a good pulse on what the association, uh, what members want, what they don't like, and I'm serving as chairman of the board this year, so I'm kind of uh, trying to still push some things that I think we need to do. And that was my take. I met a lot of people, people like you that I knew at a distance, but then I got to know you better because, we gave a program together at one of those state associations. And I never went to the state association. And I came back and said, boy, Terry, I didn't like that. I just didn't have a good time. I enjoyed every one of them. And of course, wound up spending hundreds of dollars at every fun auction. I felt obligated, I got to do that. So I got a lot of stuff last year, but just really enjoyed that part of mixing with the membership. And what I've learned, Josh, is from doing that is most auctioneers are doing well. We had a great year last year. This year, next year looks good. And it this is a great profession to be in. If you're a young auctioneer listening to this podcast, you're in the right place at the right time.
Yeah, yeah. I agree. Terri?
Yeah. Well, just want to encourage people at state conferences, if they would bring as items to sell in the fun auction, jewelry, diamonds, that type of thing, then Lance could have come home with jewelry. That would have made me happy.
She loved the tools I brought home.
Okay, I was so fortunate that I was able to be president during COVID. So Zoom meetings are what I did. That was basically it. However, you've gotta look for good in everything. And I do think that God had the perfect timing for me to be part of that. I was able to, Hannes, the CEO, had decided at that point that she was going into a different direction with her career just because of her life and her grandchildren. She wanted to spend more time with them. So I was able to be there to put the next person in that position, her position. So that was kind of exciting. There was also a lot of issues that happened during that time that I think people sometimes, when they go through rough times, they do things that may be somewhat foolish, or they let their anger step forward when it shouldn't. And I was able to handle a lot of that. Poor Lance got a lot of my anger out whenever I was finishing a Zoom call. But one of the things is that I was able to calm some issues, and not bring it out to the public. So, sometimes your dirty wash, you need to keep at home. You don't need to hang it on the line, hang it inside so it can dry, so no one sees how dirty it is. And that was one of the things I think just that time period was rough, not only for everybody in the country, but auctioneers just as a whole. So I mean, it was challenging. I felt cheated sometimes that I didn't get to travel and see people in person, but I just think that maybe that was the Lord's planning. He just said, okay, we'll stick her here. She can do it. So anyway, I'm glad I did. I'm glad I was president of NAA, and being in leadership. I absolutely love being in leadership. Don't know that I would do it again. Maybe if I didn't go through COVID, I would, but I don't know if I'd do it again. It was a very interesting time.
Yeah. Well, you in a way answered the second question, which was not going to be what was the worst part. I don't want to ask you that. That's for you and your own personal thing to sort out. But I was going to ask what the hardest part was. So Terri, I think you pretty well answered
Yeah.
that. Lance, I want to ask you what the hardest part of being the NAA president in the time that you were was.
You quickly realize you can't change the world in the year that you're president.
Mhm.
You come in with some great ideas, and then the wheels turn real slow, you know, and and so we very quickly learn. Okay, uh, I, I may get some things through, I may not, but the important thing is I can be a leader. I can set an example, and I'm very good. I think my maybe one of my gifts is that of exhortation. We look at our
Mhm.
gifts. Uh, I enjoy making people feel good and building them up. And maybe I think that's the one thing I was able to do, uh, because the Lord's been so good to us, Terri and I. I just have a positive attitude, and that's what a leader needs to have. It,
Mhm.
you know, for the again addressing the younger people that are listening. I hope you will pursue a leadership role in NAA, whether that be head of a committee or running for an office, and focus on the positive. And so the difficult thing was to realize, okay, I can't change the world this year, but I can still uh, be a mentor to people and to be a positive voice for the association.
Yeah.
And I hope I did that.
Yeah, well, I think you did. What limited view I have from the outside in, I think you did. I love what you said about having the gift of exhortation. Romans 12 talks about people in the body of Christ and their gifts, and Paul says that Paul is so funny when he does this. He says, "You're talking about gifts. If it is exhortation, let him exhort." It's like, well, how do you do your gift? You practice it. You just do
That's
it.
right.
If
That's
that's your
right.
gift, you just do it. So, and you
That's
both
right.
certainly have. One more thing about the NAA, and then we'll move on to a different topic. In 2023, the NAA went through a name change. And I think that has been something that they've tried to do in the past, if I remember correctly. And it had been kind of shot down back in like 2012, 2013, something like that.
Yeah.
And then maybe after that, it kept coming up. I don't know. But now the name has changed from National Auctioneers Association to National Auction Association. You all, I know you're aware of the negative blowback that received from some auctioneers. What I want to ask is why is because I think from the limited amount of knowledge that I have about the issue is it seems somewhat unwarranted. The blowback, the negative blowback seems somewhat unwarranted. I mean, because it's the promotion of the industry and those who are in the industry. You can't have an industry without the people. So if you don't mind, I'd love to get your opinion on the name change and why
Mm-hmm.
that is a good thing, or maybe you think it's not a good thing, and what auctioneers can expect from the organization as it's been labeled now. So whoever wants to take that first, I know it's a big question, but it's one that I think a lot of our listeners would be interested in hearing.
Well, I'm glad to take it because I was involved in that,
Right.
and I wasn't for it at the beginning, and it's one of those things that you hash out. This didn't happen in a year; it
Yeah.
just happened to happen when I was president. That it came to fruition, but we've been gurgitating on it for several years. The reason for the name change is that our industry has changed so much that there are more. I think I can say it. I don't have facts. I shouldn't say that. There's as many online auctioneers as there are live auctioneers.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. There are a lot of auctioneers now that don't call bids
Mm-hmm.
and probably never will. Now, I feel a little sorry for those people because they're missing a blessing out of calling. I love to call bids.
Sure.
So, but I'm not the championship level that you and Terri are. So, I'm an average bid caller. I'm good enough to get by with, but I love the term auctioneer. I will always be an auctioneer. Uh, uh, I know the term auction professional. We like to use that now, and that's a good term. But man, I'm not ashamed to say I'm an auctioneer. In fact, my title is auctioneer realtor. Because I sell real estate, so I use those terms. But we've got this online auction is not going away. It works. It you know I love the auctioneer that fought it, and then they'll give me a call and they say, "Boy, Lance, you were right about this thing." It, the online auction method during COVID, our business tripled during COVID because we had an online platform. So the change was to be inclusive. That for those people who are catalogers, they're marketers, uh, they just don't do a lot of bid calling to include them. And because we're providing classes for them now, that's part of our education now, to educate the online people. And you got to realize, I go back to the first Rasmus lecture on online auctions. And when Rasmus gave that lecture about, hey folks, you live auctioneers, you get ready, because this thing called online auction, we all left saying that ain't gonna apply to me. And boy, was Chris Wright, Chris Rasmus, he was one of the founders of, or promoters of online auction, and it's worked tremendously for that family.
Mm-hmm.
And so what I'm saying is, we did it, I think, out of necessity, because we were ignoring a large part of our profession that are not auctioneers, but they're still in the auction business. That's the reason for the change. I'm married to a champion. I love calling bids. I'm for the auctioneer, but the only reason to drop it was just to so these people would feel included.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Shane McCarroll says at the Nashville Auction School, he tells his class, because everybody goes to auction school thinking they're going to be a live bid caller, doing all kinds
Yep.
of stuff. And great, that's what I went, that's what I do. But Shane tells his class, there is a place for you in the auction business, or in the auction industry. And whether that's marketing, whether it's advertising,
Yep.
whether it's, cataloging, whatever, writing contracts, closing statements, I mean, anything. And but people think, well, I'm going to go to auction school and then I'm going to be behind a microphone. And that's how I'm going to make my money. Even for me as a contract bid caller, like I don't have my own company, I'm a contract bid caller. That's still probably 10% of what I do at the actual
Yeah.
sale.
Yeah.
There's auction setup, there's advertise, like you all know, and our listeners
Yep.
know too. So there's something I've been playing around with. I don't know that I have the time or the resources to do it, but I'm curious as to what the interest might be in having an association that is a sister association to the NAA for bid callers. Call it the ABC, the American Bid Caller Association. And I'm curious. I'm playing around with that to see if there would be interest. But I do think that what you said, Lance, is so helpful to some of our listeners who may have wrongly interpreted the name changes. Like, well, they're cutting auctioneers out. No, 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 no. It's growing, and if you love the auction industry, you have to love growth. It's
Yeah.
it's it's the nature. So, okay, I know y'all have to go here in a few minutes. I want to get to Terri for two reasons. One is Terri's the 2009 women's IAC champion, and you both have been judges, and you compete and on the national scale, international scale. One reason why we started this podcast was because I was sharing with Terri before we started. I judged a Kentucky contest in 2022, and when you judge a contest, everybody wants to know why they lost. And so I spent probably from midnight to 3 a.m. with about 10 guys, showing them, hey, when you go on stage, this is how you carry yourself. This is how you make an introduction. So from the perspective of a judge, which both of you have been, and I'll start with Terri in this, from a perspective from a judge, what is it that really sells the contestant to you as a judge? I don't. If I have to take a guess, I don't think it's their bid calling ability.
You know what? Most of the time, when you were saying that, most of the time, whenever a person walks on that stage, I can pretty well tell if they're champion material,
Mm-hmm.
just the way they handle themselves on stage. And a lot of that is comfort.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when I did my first benefit auction, I by no means could do what I am today. But when they walk on that stage, grab that microphone, and are confident with just being on the stage, that makes a lot of difference. Now, is their chant important? Most certainly.
Sure.
Um, but it has a lot to do with that stage presence, where their eyes are planted, how they're handling their body movements. You know, where are they standing? Are they standing close to the edge of the stage, or are they back in the background? Just so much. Um, there's just so much that stage presence is so important. And then if they have a great chant, you know, all the boxes have been
Yeah.
checked. So that's what we're looking for.
Yeah, I'm working with a guy right now. I'll keep his name anonymous to protect the innocent, but he's getting ready for a contest and he's never competed before. And he's so worried about his chant. And I said, dude, there are 10 other boxes besides your chant. Your chant might need work and it might not, and fine. But I've seen a lot of people win contests, and I thought, well, somebody else might have had a better chant than them. But you are presenting yourself, you're selling yourself. And so I think that's something important for our auctioneers to remember. And Lance, I'm going to have to revoke your judge's card because you were the judge the year that I won, and I'm not so sure that you have the appropriate judgment for judging these contests. I have to call that into
That
question.
makes me a good judge, doesn't it, John?
I don't know. I don't know. Okay, we have just enough time left to talk about really what we probably should have talked most about, which is the documentary that Terri is making. Terri, give us a synopsis of the documentary, what the process has been like, and where we can find it when it comes out. We'll make sure to advertise that and share it for you when it comes out. But
Thank you.
tell us about the documentary.
Well, I have to tell you, this is the most interesting thought process that I have. And Lance, bless his heart, he's been married to me for all these years, and he's still going, oh, what's she doing? Um, I have Sandy Houston. Any relation?
If there is, I don't know it, but I wish I
Okay.
could claim it.
Yeah, tobacco auctioneer. I happened to be listening to his YouTube channel. Like what? It's not even his. It was just a YouTube video that where he was calling bids.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, oh my word, that is beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just that tobacco chant is different than ours,
Sure.
but it's just a beautiful chant. And I thought, you know, most people don't even know anything about tobacco auctioneers. As I'm thinking about how the auctions are going, a lot of them are going online. I started realizing that the auctioneer of today, that chant in itself, let's say 20 years, 30 years down the road, is not as popular as it is now. So I thought, you know, what can you do to make that, to keep that in front of everybody's focus? The other thing is, whenever I tell people what I do for a living, they say, oh, can you talk fast? Can you do that thing where you talk fast?
Mm-hmm.
I thought, you know, that's what people recognize with an auctioneer. That's it. They don't say, how well is your marketing skills? You know, no, they're not great. I pay for someone to do that. So that was one of the reasons I just thought, what can I do? Talk to a filmmaker at an conference. It was a Martinet meeting that we had, and he was speaking at this conference that we had with the Martinet members. I went up to him and I said, look, I'm interested in doing something that will keep the chant, the auctioneer's chant alive. And he said, you need a documentary. And so he and I kind of worked back and forth, making plans. I told him my ideas, and he said, I'll help you with that. That's where it started. And then we went gangbusters, getting investors, getting my talent. The story of our documentary is following six individuals who are in the competition. Exactly, what they do at their at home, similar to The Voice. If
Hmm.
you've watched that on TV,
Hmm.
kind of that same idea. But I also want to bring in, there's some historical pods that I'm also interested in sharing. And one of the things is I'm going to interview Sandy Houston as well. But, we've gone to South Africa. There's an auctioneer, Joff van Reenen, who in South Africa, who is um, just a super guy. He actually comes to the United States to learn from the NAA auctioneers how to do it, and then he goes back to South Africa and does what he has learned. So that says a lot about us.
Hmm.
But also he's the auctioneer for Nelson Mandela's daughter. We were able to interview her. We're going to be in Alaska. There's an auctioneer in Alaska. How do you make a living in Alaska? When half of the year is dark.
Hmm.
Um, there is an auctioneer in Canada who we're going to be interviewing as well. So that is, whenever I look at the auction chant, um, I just want to hang on to it so that whenever our children have children,
Hmm.
they know exactly what their grandparents did. They know exactly what has gone on. They know what we're doing as far as that chant is concerned. Um, it's a lot of work. Doing a documentary is a lot of work. Lance is having to cover for me a whole lot. So his year as president, I covered for him. Now this year of me doing the documentary, he's covering for me. So, but it's a lot of fun. Um, all over the country, there are great, great people who are
Hmm.
auctioneers.
Hmm.
Great people.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm excited. When does it come out, do you think? Or do we have a
Okay,
date?
yeah, I don't have a date yet. We're still
Okay.
filming. I have got some of our footage. This is so I'm going to sound really like I'm Miss, I don't know, producer. Some of our filming has already gone to our editor. When
Hmm.
the editor finishes editing it, then our agent is going to take it and then take it to like Netflix,
Hmm.
Apple TV, Discovery, any of those channels,
Right.
where Magnolia TV, all
Hmm.
of those TV stations, and see if we can get someone to purchase that.
Right.
Now, just to keep in mind, one of the things that I've tried to keep in mind is, if someone purchases this, will they want a sequel to it? So
Hmm.
we've got another competition coming up. So if they want a sequel, we may try to take that to even add more to it. The other thing is the the different pods, whether we're looking at some historical pods, and those historical pods kind of tell about the history of the auction. For example, Hot Springs, Arkansas, the city was bought at an auction.
Wow.
So how many cities in the United States, the government back in the day used the auction method of sale to sell the city, like
Hmm.
Las Vegas?
Hmm.
So that's another thing that the public, it's just interesting that the public would find it interesting to know about. And also, when you look at the chant in the United States, it's so different than the
Right.
chant in other countries.
Hmm.
Whenever you go to London and listen to an auctioneer there, we are going, that's not an auctioneer. He's
Hmm.
just talking. Whereas, we try to make it fast. It's a
Hmm.
fast way to sell an item. That's it in a nutshell. It's a lot of fun. I'm really hoping that by the end of January, we've kind of gotten it going. I know by the end of February, we should have it all, the movie made, so that we can at that point either take it to film festivals or sell it directly to whether it's Netflix or Amazon Prime
Right.
or wherever. So
Yeah.
those are the avenues that we're going in. Right now, I'm working on trying to get a voiceover. So, there's a lot of writing that has to be done as well,
Hmm.
and I'm working on that now as well. And so, it's just more stuff that I'm
Yeah.
finding out that has to be done, but it's a lot of fun. A
Yeah.
lot of fun.
Yeah. That's awesome. I'm excited to see it when it comes out. I know it's a lot of work, and I think it's something you're going to be proud of. We
Yeah.
have just enough time to end with rapid fire questions. I do this at the end of every podcast. It's just one word or maybe one sentence. So just whatever comes to mind, and just a few of these. So I'll start with Lance and then go to Terri, and we'll just do that back and forth until we get to the end. Okay. Rapid fire question number one: what is the weirdest item you have sold at auction?
1,000 pair of pantyhose.
Terri?
Um, Commode
No.
at a gala.
What is your the favorite item that you've sold? What is your favorite one to talk about? So, like somebody asks you, "Oh, you're an auctioneer," and you have this item that just jumps in your mind. It's like, "Wow, this is one that really sticks out that I can kind of tell the story of how I sold this." Lance?
At a benefit auction in California, George Lucas donated the right for 50 couples to go to his ranch and see the movie that was coming out the following week. So you'd see it first. Fiji barbecue and see it in his cinema. And it brought $100,000, and he let me sell it twice. That was
Wow,
fun.
wow, Terri?
Dance with Michael Landon at a gala where he was there, and so they could dance with him at that moment.
Wow, that's awesome. Lance, what's your favorite filler word?
I'm bid. I bid 25. I thought it would be 35. I'm bid. Just very simple.
Terri?
Mine is now $200, now 300. I hate it, but it's comfort.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's essential.
It's
Um,
essential.
Lance, online or live?
I don't both. I know it's a cop out, but it depends.
Oh,
I mean, I like live, but if online is the better way to sell it, go whatever's best for the client. That sounds like a hedge, but that's what you have to do today. You have to
yeah,
decide what is best.
yeah. I imagine Terri's answer would be pretty close to the same, but Terri?
Yeah. I, since he said that, I love a live auction. To me, the first item is you kind of once you get the feel of your audience, it's so much fun.
Oh yeah, yeah. Lance, what makes auction contests valuable?
Would you repeat that?
What makes an auction contest valuable?
Well, that's a good question. It promotes the industry. It's the showcase of what we do, and so yeah, it's the showcase of what auctioneers do. The chant will always be the showcase of what we do.
Mm-hmm. Terri?
Yeah, and I think it also is the thing that I think is so good about the competition is that it's a way to better yourself, the individuals in the competition. And even the audience who's watching that competition, they're constantly thinking, oh, wow, that sounds good. I like the way they did that. I like that answer. I like the way they introduced themselves. So I think it's kind of a educational challenge for both the audience and the person who's competing.
All right, one final question. I know you've got to go. Lance, who is an auctioneer that you love to listen to?
Chuck Cumberland,
Yeah.
Terri?
Colorado. He was from Colorado.
Yeah, he's probably I would say that. But the auctioneer song ain't too bad.
Yeah, you bet.
Leroy Van Dyke.
Yeah, yeah. Well, very good. Yeah, as I have really enjoyed this episode. It's been a lot of fun. I threw some hard hitters at you, but thank you for being so gracious to answer them the way that you did. I think our listeners will really appreciate it too. To those who are listening, thanks for joining us. You join us so faithfully every month. And Lord willing, we have a great lineup of guests coming in the future. Lance and Terri, Thank you so much for your time,
Thank
and
you.
I'll let you guys
All right.
go. So great to see you. Y'all take care.
Thanks.
See you.
You've been listening to the Better Bid Calling podcast. If you would like to sponsor an episode, please contact us at betterbidcalling@gmail.com.